Hey everyone, I wanted to do a tutorial on timelines since some people were asking about cinematics and animations and things like that. Unity has a really powerful tool called Timeline. It's kind of like Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. It lets you add tracks and then add whatever you want to those tracks, animate things, change variables, do a bunch of cool stuff. So I'll show you some of the things that Timeline can do and how to set up a timeline and how to play it and all that. So I just have a really simple scene here. I got a cube and some lights and things. Nothing too crazy. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Window, Sequencing, and Timeline. It's going to open up this little guy here. I'm just going to dock him on the bottom here so we can still see our scene. So here, by default, it says this cube doesn't have a director. You have to add a timeline, a director component to something. It'll do it by default when you go to create, but I like to do it on an empty game object just so I have this. I usually call it timeline. I like to keep all the things that I'm working on in my timeline as children of my timeline, but you don't have to. Usually when I do cinematics, things are very kind of independent of themselves and of the rest of the scene, so I kind of do that. But again, you don't have to. So it all depends on how you want to organize your things. I'm just going to zero this guy out, and down here I'm going to hit the Create button. It's going to ask me where I would like to save my timeline. I usually make a timelines folder. Timeline. Oh yeah, because I named my game object timeline. I'll call this Alex Timeline or something. Okay, and you'll see here it created this little guy here. Nothing much is going on here. Now what I can do is I can drag and drop things into this timeline. Now the first bit of advice I have for you is that if you click away on your scene, oh shoot, they must have. Oh yeah, if you click on something else, it'll get rid of it because it's like trying to find a timeline on this game object. So if you select your timeline object again, there's this little lock button, excuse me, up here, and then this will keep that locked regardless of what you have selected, which is a really nice way of working to be able to drag and drop stuff in there. So let's do something very simple. Let's take this cube and we're going to add it to our timeline. Now you'll see here, when I click and drag this cube from my hierarchy into here, that does a little plus sign. I get to decide what I would like to do with this cube. So we're going to do an animation track for now. You'll see here on my cube it added an animator because it needs an animator. It needs to save that stuff somewhere. So basically that's it. I have my scrub here. This is my frames or seconds. You can set whatever you like in here. So right now it's on frames. I could set it to seconds if I want. So let's say I wanted to move my cube. Well, it's very simple. I have my cube here. I have this red button. I'm going to hit record, and I will give you some piece of advice in a second, and I'm doing this on purpose. This is actually not an ideal way to animate a cube or your cinematics for a specific reason. So by default, I'm just going to kind of nudge my cube around a little bit, just be like, this is my starting area. You'll see here it made a keyframe. I could click this little guy here to show me my keyframes and my positions and things like that if you want. I'm going to scrub over here to 30 seconds, and I'm going to move my cube over here, and I'm just going to do some random animations here, just like any other program, like you would animate in 3D Max. And basically when I scrub this back, it'll play it. So there we go. We have a little cinematic, nothing super crazy. We have our character. He's walking around in a circle, or I don't know, whatever happens, right? Now the cool thing is, if you have a character that has animations already, you can actually add that character in here and add animations to it. We can go over that as well if you like. Maybe I'll do that in a different video, just so it's not too long for this one. And that's it. So we have that. Now the problem is if I move this cube without it recording, and let's say, you know what, I want my cinematic to be over here. That's not going to work. It's going to move this cube around here because it's animating the position from world space. So if you have this cube inside the timeline, you'll see here it'll still animate. But if I move my whole timeline over, then it'll animate in place. So that's kind of why I like having all my objects as children of the timeline or another game object. That way I have a little bit more control if I want to adjust positions and things over top of the animation. So it's quite nice to do that. You could do lots of other things. You can, let's not do the camera for now. Well, yeah, let's do a camera for now. I'm going to add my camera into here. In my game view, you'll see here, this is my camera. I'm going to just put it over here just so we can kind of see. Let me position this camera where I want it to be. Alright, so now we're looking. This is what it's going to look like in the game view. And I could do the same thing. So I could just take this camera, you know, nudge it around here a little bit. So let's say I want it to start over here. And then at 30 seconds, I want it to, you know, pan over here. This is like way too much camera movement, but, you know, maybe it's going to go over here, do some crazy stuff, follow my character around for some reason. Don't do crazy cinemas like this. Now it's in the sky. I don't know why. It's just doing crazy stuff. And then over there, right? So now you'll see the camera is following it. It doesn't actually even look like my character is moving anymore because the camera is moving along, but whatever, you know. If you ever want to delete any of these, you can pull this down and just delete the keyframes that you don't want. And let's just say I want to do a soft, you know, maybe pan and rotate across here. So now I'm just kind of doing this sort of thing, or maybe I just want it going up and over like that or something. So, you know, changing my camera perspective, whatever, doesn't matter. Whatever I want it to do, that's how you do it. That's how you animate some stuff. There's some other cool things you could do. Let's say we have our cube here. I'm going to drag my cube in here again, and I'm going to add an activation track to it. I can resort these guys here. You'll see here this added this little block here, and it says active. Inside this block, my cube is alive. It's activated. What I could do is, let's say when my cube gets over here, I want it to explode or die. So I'm going to deactivate it, whatever, let's say over here. So you'll see here as we go, it hides it. If we look at our cube here, you'll see that it turns it off. So that's what the activation track does. So if you want something to disappear, to do whatever, you know, you can spawn an explosion at this time or something like that. Let's create an effect. Particle system. All right. Let's do. Boom! Here's an explosion. It's really crappy. All right, so I'm going to put my particle system in here. I'm going to add an activation track as well, and my particle is going to activate when my box disappears. So I'm going to take my particle system. I'm going to move it into the area where my box is. Right, and then so what's going to happen is my box is going to get over here, and then it's going to activate my particle, which is not set to I don't want it to loop. Play. I haven't used this particle system in a while because I use the new one now. So well, anyways, let's hit the play button and let's see what this looks like in the game view. Boom! There we go. Sometimes things don't work the same in the editor as they do in the game time. Boom! Plays my particle, my guy dies and goes off into lots of little smoke things. So, yeah, so that's kind of how you do it. The other cool thing you could do is once you're done in animation, you can right-click on it and go to Convert to Clip Track, and it'll make this little thing for you, and then you can move this around, so it's much easier than moving keyframes. You can adjust all this stuff so the camera goes up first, then my guy appears. You know, we can even have him do that and then move around. And then you can animate anything in here. So let's say we added our directional light in here, we added our animation, and let's do some fun stuff. So let's say we're doing a time of day or some, I don't know, whatever business, right? Some stuff's getting serious, you know, maybe we're showing like a time lapse and it's getting to be nighttime or something, right? So you'll see here it's animating the color value of my light here. You can animate basically anything, any variable. You can do intensity, you know, whoop. Oh, I guess I didn't do this one in the beginning. You have to make sure you have a keyframe at the start as well. So there we go, we're animating that. You can really animate anything you'd like. That's the awesome thing about Timeline. You can do anything like that, including scripts. You can animate like variables and stuff, turn things on and off. You can do signal controllers, tons of different stuff in here that you know, will let you have a lot of freedom and some fun. You could do post-processing volumes, and if you want to turn up the fog or something, you can do that, or turn volumes on and off. You know, basically between animation and activating and deactivating things, you can do whatever you like. It's quite powerful and quite amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Timeline in the basic kind of way. And then for playing it, you'll see here on my Timeline game object, I have a little playable director. Right now, it's set to play on awake, so that means when I hit play, this will start playing. Which may not be what you would like. You could also do a wrap mode. So if I want this animation to loop, let's say if I had a background bird that was just looping its animation and doing some stuff, you know, landing, pecking some stuff, flying away, doing a poop or whatever, and I just wanted it to repeat in the background, I could set it to loop. What you could also do is, just none, and then turn this off, and then on through code, you can call playable director, and you can play this at a time. So you could do it, you know, a character walks through a trigger, then it plays this director. You could do, you know, something specific happens through code. Somebody, you know, activates a button, opens a gate, you know, uses a door, pushes a trigger, puts something in place. Whatever it happens to be, you can activate these playable directors through code. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now because this is just kind of like an overview of director, but just look up, you know, how to activate or play a director or a timeline, and the answer is very simple. It's just like one line of code. Yeah, that's it. If you have any specific questions, let me know. I'm going to do another video of how to use something that has a pre-existing animation in it. So we'll do that one next.